Hey everybody, Jimmy Smith here to own my picks for UFC 301 and, of course, Canelo versus Munguia. So, start out, UFC. Chal Baralho versus Paul Craig. I, like anyone with any sense, chose Chal Baralho. Pretty much went the way I thought it would, with Baralho just being the better puncher, a little bit better physically, stockier, stronger. The difficulty I've always had with Paul Craig is he over-relies on his guard. He over-relies on his jiu-jitsu, but his jiu-jitsu isn't world-class. He's not a Damian Maia, Gilbert Burns, Kron Gracie, any of the guys that, wow, maybe their jiu-jitsu all by itself. And even today in MMA, as Kron Gracie showed, jiu-jitsu all by itself ain't going to do it. And those guys, I think, much more well-rounded than Paul Craig. So he over-relies on a skill set, especially his guard, that isn't really that useful in MMA, unfortunately. And we're starting to see the limits of that at 205 and now at middleweight. But Chal Baralho, this is a guy on the way up, very, very strong, very, very good middleweight in a division that needs some new talent. He wins 2 minutes, 10 seconds into round number 2. Pick Chal Baralho, as any sane person would, over Paul Craig. That one worked. Next one. Pantoja was like, what, a 4-1 underdog. It was absurd. I thought, Pereira's wild style. Money-wise, Pereira's probably going to win, but for the money, Pantoja is the sane bet in that 4-1, maybe Pereira with his crazy style runs into something weird. It was a very Pereira fight. Wild, crazy, funky, flipping over the top, landing a knee. Just as good a chance that knee, by the way, lands in the head and you get a disqualification. That's Pereira. That's why he's always kind of safe to bet against, because he's so crazy. Even when he wins, there's always that X factor that something crazy is going to go wrong. Didn't happen. Pereira ends up getting the win by guillotine choke, 54 seconds into round number 1. Anthony Smith, Vitor Petrino. I'm really glad I was wrong with this one. First time I've gone really against Anthony since maybe the John Jones fight. Well, we worked together, by the way, at SiriusXM. I know Anthony well, worked with him many, many times. Great dude. So I tend to go with him, even emotionally speaking. In this sense, I was like, all right, he's being thrown up against a young, hungry, undefeated, up-and-coming guy. This is a very old story in combat sports, MMA, especially with UFC. Hey, 15 and whatever it was, Vitor Petrino coming in at 11-0. Anthony Smith, the old lion, lost 3 out of his last 4. This is how it goes. The young eat the old. In this case, the experienced guy got it done. First guillotine win of his career, which is insane, simply because it's the simplest submission. Almost everyone with a submission background with enough fights gets a guillotine win. First one in Anthony Smith's career. So Vitor Petrino went in for an ill-advised takedown. Early in round number 1, got caught in a guillotine. It's over in 2 minutes. Ill-advised, yes. But once again, Anthony had never won by guillotine. He's not known as a guillotine guy. I get why you would take that risk, but I thought it was a weird timing to do so. Anthony Smith trying to play from the outside, Petrino trying to come in, should have stuck with his striking, did not do that. Ends up getting guillotined. 2 minutes, round number 1. So, on to the co-main event. Jose Aldo, Jonathan Martinez. This was one thing. Jonathan Martinez I picked. I thought he was a pretty safe bet against Jose Aldo. Don't know exactly what Jose Aldo is doing now with his career. Looks like the last fight in his UFC deal. Will he continue to fight? I don't know if he wants to do that. He's 37 years old, etc., etc., etc. But this idea that Jonathan Martinez was facing a legend and he might have a little of that bright light syndrome. If you listen to my interview, Eve Edwards does my kind of X's and O's breakdowns on SiriusXM. Every time there's a pay-per-view, Eve Edwards is my go-to X's and O's guy. And I remember when Eve fought early on in his career, Rumana Sato, who's a Japanese legend, unbelievable fighter at the time. And I asked Eve, was there a little of that like kind of deer in headlights of like, oh man, this is Rumana Sato? And he went, yeah, there was a little bit of that. And there were other problems with the fight. He didn't like his weight cut, all this stuff. But this idea that you're facing a Brazilian legend in Brazil, and there's a little of the, oh man, this is Jose Aldo. I've said Jose Aldo at 135 pounds is maybe 70% of the Jose Aldo we saw at 145. That's still damn good. That's still an incredible fighter. And I think that's one of the credits to Jose Aldo. He went down in weight class late in his career. Very tough to do, by the way. Weight cutting gets harder and not easier as you get older. And he's up amongst the elite at 135. He showed that with his Jonathan Martinez fight. He can still beat top 10, fringe top 5 guys. At this stage in his career, with all he's been through, that is an incredible accomplishment. The idea that 70% of you is still better than 100% of a lot of young guys, that's incredible. Jose Aldo, an absolute legend. Unbelievable performance. But I thought Martinez got a little bit of the deer in headlights of, I'm facing a legend. You have to strip all that away. It's a guy, 2 hands, 2 feet, just like me. I got to go out there and do my thing. I think Jonathan Martinez was a little blown away by this. I think he let the moment get to him. And Jose Aldo looked good. You know, Jose Aldo is not one of those guys. Against Petr Yan, he didn't look good. But, you know, Petr Yan at the time, really excellent fighter. So what we've seen, too, is Jose, like a lot of great champions, they're just really good at being consistent. They're just really good. They rarely go out there and just lay an egg and you go, oh, my God, what were they thinking? Yeah, caught by Conor McGregor, but, hey, a prime Conor McGregor was very, very accurate. The idea of their own performances are not usually very up and down until the end of their careers. And Jose Aldo, consistent, you know, good combinations, good speed, good everything at 135. Not great everything. 135 is so deep. Kind of the problem here is Jose Aldo did win against Jonathan Martinez. He can still put asses in seats. He can still win against pretty good, if not great, guys. 135 is so deep. I don't see him beating Rob Dvalishvili, Henry Cejudo. Could they put together the Dominic Cruz fight? That'd be fun. But I just don't see him beating, like, top 5 guys anymore. Just the division's so deep and so difficult, right? Marlon Chito Vera, you know, asked for a rematch. I think that's a good fight. It's just this idea that I don't know exactly where Jose Aldo's going to go, right? Not that he can't have entertaining fights, but I don't even get all the way to the top, and that's where he's used to being. So, but a good win for Jose Aldo in Brazil. On to the main event, Alexandre Pantoja, Steve Erceg. Went pretty much the way I thought it would. I picked Alexandre Pantoja to win by decision. That's always the smart pick at 125. Had to overcome some adversity. Got cut a couple times. I had it 2-2 going into the 5th round. Alexandre Pantoja won round number 5. Then I saw a graphic about significant strikes, and it was 3-2. It looked like numbers-wise, he won, 3 out of 5 rounds, and he won, and that's what the judges thought. There you go. The problem I see going forward with Alexandre Pantoja, his ground game is maybe a level better than most at 125. But Alexandre Pantoja's total game, right, start to finish, he isn't DJ. He isn't a prime Jose Aldo at 45, which is like blowing guys out of the water. The problem is he's going to have to go deep rounds in difficult, close fights a lot. Just is what it is. Where 125, there aren't a lot of finishes. As I said, he's number 1 in the world, totally. He deserves to be champion. He's number 1. But he's not, GSP. He's not one of those guys, Anderson Silva, you're like, oh, my God, there's the division, and then there's this guy. I see the rest of the division. Remember, that was a number 10 guy, Steve Erceg. I see the top 5 behind him pretty much being in the same class, and he's a little bit better. That's hard because you're going to go through some grueling wars. They're going to take a lot out of you, even when you win. GSP, for example, finished his career the first time around on 170, I think 7 decisions in a row, but they were one-sided decisions. They weren't particularly close until the Johnny Hendricks fight, the last one before he retired. So, yeah, he went long, but they weren't tough fights. He wasn't eating a lot of punches. He wasn't taking a lot of damage for the most part. So, you can go long as you're just outpacing everybody and beating everybody. Pantoja is going long, but there are also competitive fights where he's taking damage. So I wonder about his longevity at the top simply because he doesn't get those first-round knockout and I didn't have to do anything, or first-round submission. It wasn't really that hard. Like Frankie Edgar when he was at the top. It was like every freaking fight was a war. Well, the body can only do that so long. So Pantoja, I just wonder if his reign might be cut short because he's always going long, hard rounds. So Jaime Munguia taking on, of course, Canelo Alvarez. I called it the post-fight show at the Pro Box Studio. So what we do, by the way, if people check it out on Pro Box TV, by the way, it's a lot of fun. We go to the studio. I watch the fight live. I'm sitting there in the studio. TVs are all over the place and monitors and stuff. And we sit there and watch the fight. And then as soon as the hand's raised, boom, we do a post-fight show on it. It was me, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, and Teddy Atlas joined us on Zoom. And we just shoot the breeze about the fight for about an hour. So, and we're on YouTube, and you guys can ask questions and stuff, and we answer them. And it's a lot of fun. So that was the environment in which I watched the fight, which was a lot of fun. Watching a fight with 2 world champions is pretty cool. So we're sitting there watching it, and for those of you who didn't see it, Munguia looked really good in the first 3 rounds. really good. Almost like the Bivol fight. He was bigger. He was throwing long, straight punches, good combinations, good speed. Wasn't giving Canelo a whole lot of counterpunching opportunities, and you could tell Canelo was getting a little frustrated. He was a little like, all right, this isn't what I signed up for. And in round number 4, beautiful combination. A left hook, but not a hard one, just to kind of get Bivol to kind of do this or kind of bring this in a little bit. And the second one was an uppercut right through the center, bang, and it knocked Munguia down. Munguia got back up, didn't get knocked down again in the round, but after that, Canelo's all over him. Never really righted the ship. The consensus, and what I said when I picked Alvarez to win the fight is, all the pros I work with said Munguia's about a year away from being good enough to beat Canelo. Canelo's about a year away from the drop-off that every fighter goes through. You could see that in this fight, right? Where he got knocked down, and most pros, and we're talking Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, for example. When Ryan Garcia would win rounds with power, boom, that left hook and knock him down, Devin Haney, who's a seasoned professional, who's been in big fights before, would right the ship, go back to his jab, and start winning rounds again. It was almost like once Munguia got knocked down and the tide shifted, he couldn't get it back. Pros can get it back. Experienced professionals at the elite level in any sport. Patrick Mahomes, all right, they come out, they score two quick touchdowns. He's down 14-0. He doesn't panic. He just goes back to what he does, and he knows he's going to come back. Same thing with Canelo. Canelo, once he knocked down Munguia, it was like, this is mine now. And Munguia didn't really have the experience to come back, and also was a little arm weary. Another difficulty a lot of professional fighters have when they don't have a lot of big fight experience or till late in the, they set paces they can't keep. They come out, bing, 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 and then in round 6, they're going, okay, I screwed up, and I can't keep this pace going. Never set a pace you can't keep. Pros rarely do. If anything, pros start out a little slow and then build up. B-Hop, Floyd Mayweather used to do that a little bit. Canelo does that a little bit, and then he kind of tapers off the end. But, Canelo just kept the pressure on, hurt him with some body shots, and just took the fight over after round 4. Ended up winning a unanimous decision. I thought it was very, very fair. I thought it scored very, very well. Meaning it was unanimous decision for Canelo, but it was, 5 rounds, 4 rounds. It wasn't idiot judges giving him every single round. It wasn't that. So, for money, for betting, I said, if you're going to make money, you got to go Canelo by knockout, which almost happened in round 4. Did knock him down, did hurt him, couldn't finish him. Because Canelo was just such an overwhelming favorite that betting on him, unless you put your house on him, isn't going to be smart. So I picked Canelo to win. I said for money, I would take the knockout because you got plus money for a knockout. Didn't end up happening. Smart money, it's always going to be Canelo by decision. So anyway, I'll be around for the next one. Have a good one. Enjoy your week.